Got a different type of project this time. We're going to be building some shaker-style cabinet doors. I have a friend that owns apartment buildings, and he's had a tenant move out, and they're cleaning the place up and getting ready to move a new tenant in there, and they wanted to kind of spruce up the kitchen a bit. I'm using primed finger joint pine for the stiles and rails, MDF for the panel. I'm using the pine because I don't have a thickness planer, at least I didn't when I was building these, and I had to get something that was fairly dimensionally stable. So this was probably the best way to go for me. I have a thickness planer now, and I think I would not do it with this material again because you want to get at least a full 3/4 inch thickness on the door, and if you start out with something that's a little bit less, it's not quite as stiff, not quite as strong, and pine isn't the best thing to use anyway. The minimum you would want to use on something like this would be poplar, but guys that do this a lot, even if they're painting, they'll use another type of hardwood, something that paints better and it's easier to work with, especially if they're staining. Of course, you can't use primed pine for that. So here I'm cutting the 1x6. I picked 1x6 because I'll get a pair of stiles and a pair of rails out of each 1x6, which will help keep my assemblies parallel. That's the cut list I'm using, and it's a program that I'd written probably 30 years ago. And what you do is you enter all your lengths of all the pieces you need. Then you enter the stock length of the material you're buying, and this will figure out how to get the best yield, and it'll tell you how many pieces you're going to need, how much scrap you're going to have. And I'm still using that program for stuff like this. Here I'm getting ready to go ahead and rip down my stiles and rails. And I need a new saw. I don't like this saw. It was probably a piece of shit when I bought it, but I didn't really need a good saw then. You know, I was doing floors and stuff, and this is a Ryobi, and none of their shit is really that good. It's okay in some cases, but so there's a fair amount of blade wobble, and I am definitely getting a new saw if I'm going to keep doing this kind of work, because I don't have a jointer either, so I have to rely on that finish. Showing here that I'm marking each pair so that I keep them together. There's 23 doors in all, so I'm going to have, in this tiny little garage, I'm going to have this shit everywhere. Out of each pair of stiles, I pick one for the hinge bore, and that's what I'm doing here, is I'm going to set them up and cut the hinge bore on the CNC router. You can see I already have the grooves in there, and I lost the footage of making those grooves. I used the table saw for cutting the grooves, which works out. There's some issues with that, but in any case, as long as you got a flat cutting blade, I forgot exactly what they call that, a flat cutting blade, you can cut a pretty nice groove. With a good saw, it should work just fine. It's fast too. So this is the hinge bore for the blind hinges that I'm using. Here I'm going to be cutting the tenons on the rails. Again, I don't have a router table. I got 3 routers, but no decent router table. I have one that I made, but it doesn't hold its position very well. So I just use the CNC for this and suffer through it. I'm way faster on a router table. I lost all the footage of cutting the panels out too. But anyway, here I'm just showing test fit. Make sure everything goes together and squares up and all that stuff before I glue it. So here I'm getting ready to glue up, and as you can kind of tell, it looks kind of clumsy. I've never done these before, so it took me a little bit before I got into a rhythm and a method that seemed to go pretty smooth. This was a little clumsy looking. Once I get 2 of the rails on, I go ahead and glue the remaining ends of those rails, and then put in the other stile. So the clamps I'll be using are, they're okay for this. It's not like you You see these guys that do these panel glue ups, and they're using those real nice bar clamps that keep the material flat and all that. I don't have that yet. I did go down and get one though. I went to Harbor Freight and got one of their cheap set, and I was amazed at how well they worked. 95% of the stuff at Harbor Freight is absolute crap, but some of their stuff actually does work. You can get a hammer there or maybe some clamps, but that's about it. Sorry to any of you guys that really like Harbor Freight stuff, but no, not for me. These assemblies are dead parallel, so all I really need to do is use the corner-to-corner method for checking for square, so it's pretty quick. I didn't have to move stuff around very much at all, though. If you've got your stiles and rails cut right, once you clamp up one end almost, it self-squares, but not perfectly. So you gotta check it and make sure it isn't pushed off too bad in one direction. This one shows the Harbor Freight set. You know, to get any kind of production, I would need to buy like 6 sets. So I could have 6 glue-ups setting up at any one time, but I don't have the space for that. So what I did was I had enough of the other type of clamps I could do 4 at a time, and then I would let them sit in the clamps for an hour. And then I could pull that set of clamps off of there and move on to assembling another door. An hour's long enough. If you've ever glued something together and after 3 minutes try to pull it apart, it starts sticking right away. It doesn't completely set up for at least 24 hours, but once it's been together like that for a little over an hour, you can move it around. Just don't tweak it. Just gently pull the clamps and put it in a place where it can sit up against a wall or something and not deform. This door is like 57 inches tall, so when I got it glued up and laid out flat on that surface, I let that one sit for a few hours before I messed with it because I didn't want it twisting or warping. It's hard to keep a door that size flat. I've been using a live mic on this last section. Now I guess it's time to show off all my handiwork. That's the hallway closet. Pretty tall door. Kind of hard to keep that straight. You're going to see some stuff like this on the bottom edge. Well, the painters painted these and leaned them up against the wall. Okay. You'd think they'd know better. So that's just the hallway. There's a couple in there. It's the old doors. There's an old style flat panel, you know. And they wanted to brighten it up a bit, so I guess that accomplishes that. They look a little nicer than that other style. And so anyway, that's it. I'm going to pass this link along to some guys over at Vital MX who actually know how to do this shit, so this will give them a good laugh. So anyway, that's it, and thanks for watching.